Coming up, we're talking about Halloween Horror Nights 26 at Universal Studios, Florida, live from the Bob Varley Studio in Orlando, Florida. This is not live, but this is the Diz Unplugged Universal Edition. This is episode 101, the Diz Unplugged Universal Edition. The Diz Unplugged Universal Edition is brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel, experts at helping you plan the perfect vacation to Universal Orlando. You can visit them on the web at www.dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. Welcome, everyone, to a very spooky episode of the Diz Unplugged Universal Edition.
Spooky, scary skeletons.
Yes, this one is going to be a real slasher. We might even go psycho.
I'm not. You care.
We might even go
Psycho
2. We might not go psycho at all.
I wish we could do a zoom effect too.
Yeah, that would get too complicated. It took too long just to get it. Okay, cut that out.
I wanted to see if it went
Cut it.
at the end.
I am your host for this episode, Craig Williams. And today I am joined alongside Rhino Clavin.
Hello.
And back on the controls, Oliver Green.
Hello.
Hello.
Nope, enough of that. That's
No,
more
that
than
one's not going to work. Okay, I promise. We're not going to overuse that this episode. It's
We're
just, we listened to you loud and clear. The feedback was half of you thought it was funny, the other half of you hated it. So we're gonna try to please you both by being both hated and not hated at the same time. Okay, so today on the show we are going to talk to you all about Halloween Horror Nights 26, the premier Halloween event in these United States of America. A very, very interesting event this year. It'd be a very good time. Before we get full-fledged into it, I just want to say for anyone who is watching or listening to this as it is Thursday, make sure you are following along with different coverage from some of the Diz Unplugged team, including myself as well as other people. I will be doing some special work this coming Saturday, going on Unmasking the Horror Tour at Universal. So I might be posting some updates, and then a little bit later at night, you might even be seeing some interesting things from the West Coast, as several members of the team will be out in Hollywood, California, to cover Halloween Horror Nights there, as well as everything Universal out there too. So just keep an eye on that this weekend or in the past, depending on when you're listening. Go back; it'll be out there. So, without any further ado, I'm not even going to ask anymore on housekeeping. It's just a waste of time. Not housekeeping in general, just asking you guys if you have housekeeping. Of course you don't. Nothing goes on in your miserable, miserable lives.
Yep.
So, with that, let's jump into Halloween Horror Nights 26. God, the worst. What are you doing right now?
Oliver, I'm typing a note to myself.
Okay, so for anyone out there who hasn't paid attention to our Halloween Horror Nights coverage in the past or is not keeping up with it currently right now or from anywhere else, of course, Halloween Horror Nights is a unique, special blend of haunted houses, scare zones, which are essentially just areas of Universal Studios Florida that are heavily decorated, have scare actors in them, and maybe a little bit of a show element involved to it, and then also two unique different shows that provide some level of entertainment. And this is an after hours event at Universal on select nights. Starts off Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, and then it expands as it gets closer to Halloween. It also gets busier as you get closer to Halloween. And it's a really brilliant event. I mean, we've covered this over and over again now for the past couple weeks. This is where we get into it. Last week's show, I gave you some of my thoughts from team member preview on it, didn't go really in depth on it. But today, all of us have experienced the event now. Myself multiple times, Oliver multiple times, Rhino
Just the one.
just once, and you missed out on the best show that was there to watch. But it's fine. Oliver
the
and
other
I
show?
will. Yes, it is the other show. Well, good tomorrow. So we're gonna do a journey around the park. So we're not gonna just necessarily go in. We're not gonna go in talking about like the houses first. That was like nice dramatic pause there. We're not going to talk about the houses first. We're not going to talk about the scare zones of the show. We're just going to go in order as if you were walking around the park. You know what? I might even do something special. I might talk about the way that Oliver and I did it on Sunday and give you a method for how to get the most out of the event. That might be interesting.
Was that an annual pass thing you did?
We did not do
they
an
were
annual
offering?
pass.
Oh,
We
okay.
did
I was going to say that's over on the 24th.
Yeah, the annual pass thing, it's great. It's a way. It is what it is. If you're not an annual pass holder, it doesn't matter. Oliver was lucky enough to be joined by my sister and I to be shown the ways of how to take advantage of the stay-in screen. We've mentioned the stay-in screen before. That's whenever, if you are in the park before park closes, that means you have to have a daytime admission to get in. If you have your park admission, and then you also have your HHN admission, you can go to one of several holding spots, and you will have early access to the house. So the park closes at 5 o'clock, for example, and then you'll get about an hour where you hang around and you wait, and then at 6-ish, you are allowed to go into select houses early, and then all houses are open starting at 6:30. We took advantage of this the other night, and on Sunday, which it was a slow day, Sunday the first weekend, so I won't say this is a normal occurrence, but before I think 9:15, we had 8 houses done. And yeah, we had 8 houses done.
We had 8 houses done, and I think the last one, which we'd all done previously, it had about an hour wait, was it? Or was it slightly longer than that?
Exorcist, that was the only one we didn't do on Sunday
Yeah.
night. Exorcist had a 40-ish minute wait, so
Yeah.
we could have did it, but we decided not to because we wanted to hit Academy of Villains to see that again, which we ended up getting rained out on Sunday night. But in a matter of about 3 hours and 15 minutes, we were able to do technically 9 houses.
Yeah.
We did 8 houses. We did all 8 houses except for the Exorcist, and then we were able to redo Krampus again because it only had like a 5 or 10 minute wait.
We were hitting houses so often and so hard that, like, I was struggling. Like, I'm sure we'll get into how I am in the houses, like how I react to certain situations.
Were your nerves going?
I found out that my fight or flight response is very heavily weighted towards flight, like
Do you
running
feel like
out there.
you get scared more as you go because like that initial the initial jump puts your nerves on edge? Or do you feel like you get adjusted to it as you go?
I feel like I get adjusted. I feel like I'm fine. I feel like mentally I'm level, I'm fine, I'm good, I'm going for it. And then something will take me by surprise. Because for some reason I found that they don't tend to target me as much. Like I find that they target somebody else around me. I'll see where they are. If I know where they are, I'm okay. Then one will take me by surprise and I'd absolutely mess myself. So
Wow. Fantastic. Well, what?
the point I was making, though, initially was,
Pete's,
yeah, we were hitting them.
Oh.
Pete's dog
I
watcher
doing-
has showed
Oh.
up to get his dog for the weekend for his California
that's-
trip. So that's the noises you might.
You can hear the background noise.
I
as
thought
well.
I heard Vampira in the background. coming in.
Dracula. Dracula.
Dracula.
Yeah, but the original
Fly
point.
away.
Sorry, Oliver. What's your point?
My point is so terrible, but I need to finish it now. That's Craig. That's not the soundboard. My point was, we were hitting houses that hard. I was struggling mentally to deal with it. Like I was getting nervous before we were going in because I didn't have my break in between. That's what I started off. The point I was trying to make, and it wasn't worth it.
Wonderful. Very nice. Okay, so let's jump into the event itself. So, don't know how I want to do it. Do we want to go the way we did it, or do I want to just take us in a round trip?
You should. I think you should go in the.
Do a round trip experience.
Do the round trip, because then we won't miss anything, and we can say where that falls on our favorites.
Well, and then I also don't want to like give away our plan of attack.
Yeah,
you don't want to help people plan a perfect universal vacation.
No, that's Dreams Unlimited Travel.
Okay.
This Craig's method is amazing. We did so much. It was I like those.
I'll reveal it at the end. I'll reveal it by the end.
We will reveal it October 30th.
Yes, October 30th. Maybe even October 31st.
Yes.
At 11:59 p.m. So you walk into the park. You're going straight ahead down the Avenue of the Stars. The first thing on your left, one of the most anticipated houses in history since I've been going to the event, and that is American Horror Story.
I don't remember. I don't know.
It's worth it.
I don't remember the placement of where the houses are. So you saying that was at the front of the park?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh wow. Where did you go through? Where did we go through? Well, it was confusing because when we did it for the Friday thing, we were with like.
Yeah, we walked backstage for that.
Yeah, so I was very spatially confused about where we were a lot of the night.
Fantastic. Well, the entrance to American Horror Story is actually just to the left of Despicable Me, Minion Mayhem, as well as to the right of the Universal Studios store. So I hope that helps place an idea. And then
Under the Rock and Roller oh god, Rip Ride Rocket. I took a photo of the roller coaster when we were 100. I remember now.
So American Horror Story, as we talked about in past episodes, it takes you through some of the most iconic moments, not even moments, just scenes, and shows off some of the most iconic characters from the hit FX show, including Season 1's Murder House, Season 4 Freak Show, and Season 5 Hotel. And I think it lived up to some of the hype.
I actually think this is one of my favorite houses. This is up in the very top of my list. If we're not doing an actual number list, it's this. I think it could have been. I don't think it needed to be a mix of the seasons because I walked in right away, and the way you went through Murder House was very interesting because you start in the basement and work your way up through the house, and I thought that was really cool because I almost had forgotten about. There was this like weird surgeon that lived in the house, and then I remembered he had the wife who wanted the baby,
the good doctor,
the Lily Rabe's character, and and so it was very. I don't know. I was like taken back by how much iconic stuff from the shows each season was in there, almost to the point where the seasons felt rushed to me. Like season 4, especially the Freak Show, I thought they could have done more. However, I will say one of my favorite things about this house too was that they had people portraying the characters. So especially in Freak Show, there was who was the tall lady? The Amazon
the tall
Eve.
lady.
Amazon Eve was her name.
The tall lady
Came out with the gun, and she shoots the gun, and then they had the Kathy Bates bearded woman was there, and they were all like the characters were lip syncing to the lines from the show, which I thought was great. And that to me, and we'll get to it when we get to the other house, is what one of the other houses missed as an opportunity.
Yeah, I think we all know what house that is.
Yeah.
No, I was actually. I'm going to save Oliver for last on his thoughts on this one because I will argue that while you are very passionate about AHS, he's actually watched even Hotel as well too, which you didn't get to yet. So
it's as soon as I got 2 episodes left of Supernatural from last season, and then American Horror, the Hotel is queued up.
Well, unfortunately, he is the current expert.
I'm currently watching season 6.
He's the current expert. He's the current expert.
I'm not the expert in anything.
The current expert. I only was halfway through Freak Show whenever I got to experience the house. I've since finished, and I'm about to start on Hotel here. Very, very soon. So that way, by the end of the event, I can get fully fledged into it. It's tough. I did enjoy the same way you did with having the characters. Like when you walk in and
Lady Gaga's the Countess,
you see Dr. Montgomery holding the ether to his face. Like I wanted to share in on the ether. And the weird part of, I didn't want to do ether. Come on. What is this? The 1900s? It's 2000s. The one thing that I did find weird is that they ended up not like recreating the facade of Murder House, and you do this is a little spoilerish, so you start in the basement.
I already said that. Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, my bad. I wasn't listening to you then.
I said this. I liked how you went through Murder House. You started in the basement and you went up.
There you go. I wasn't listening to you. So yeah, you do go up and you see the twins, and I don't know if we saw it the night we were there, but we did see the Piggy Man, which I was very excited about.
I saw the Piggy Man.
We saw the Piggy Man that night?
Yeah. He was in the bathroom, right?
I did, yeah. You don't, that's the thing about Halloween Horror Nights. You don't know what you
I saw
what
he
night.
came out right when I walked by and then retreated.
Exactly.
So
you know,
probably were just like, I think you were a couple people in front or behind me.
And
so.
that's what I was going to say about this house in particular in general. I felt like depending on your timing on it, you know, while they do have these iconic characters in there, if you did have bad timing going through, you would miss a lot of characters.
And
not necessarily scares, but characters.
I'll get to that when we get to another house too that I think was a disappointment for me.
But I enjoyed. I didn't enjoy the murder house part of the whole section so much. The freak show was absolutely beautiful, though. Everything was done really well.
The Leatherman scene in the murder house made me nervous.
See,
really nervous. I was like,
cheap.
don't touch me, anybody. Like,
With
there was
that,
a lot of them.
They do the multiple figures in the room, and one, of course, is it's a cheap gag.
Don't touch me.
It's a classic gag. Cheap nonetheless.
It reminded me of that Michael Myers thing they did. I don't know if they did it here, but they did it in the Hollywood house in the fall where it was just all mirrors. And
they do that here.
Yep. Okay,
they did that the first year, and then they did it again this year. I will mention specifically because of my experience with Freak Show. There were spoilers in the maze, so in like heavy spoilers.
Well, like the guy in the
Stanley.
Yeah, Stanley.
So I could tell based on knowing the show and knowing his face from that, I could that I know what happens to his character
you hadn't
now
gotten to that
because
part
I hadn't
yet?
gotten. That's in the second to last episode.
Oh, I thought it happened a lot earlier than that.
No.
Yeah.
So there were spoilers like that. So if you are starting the show, watching it, just have a little familiarity with it and want to go back later, there will be some spoilers in it. But it's a solid house. They're definitely, while the characters are hit or miss if you're actually going to see them, there are some genuine scares that I think make this a worthwhile house. Very long. I believe this actually now takes the cake and beats out last year's Monsters and Mayhem house as the longest house they've ever done. So,
yeah,
congratulations.
Well, and even then, like I said, it felt a little... I felt not rushed because there's so much, but it all looks so good. Too.
Well, let's hear from the AHS expert in the back.
Hello. It's... You guys covered a lot of what I was going to say with how well it was represented.
Well, let's just move on then.
It's no, not at all, because I've got more things to say. The season, the Murder House season, I felt they didn't spend enough time on, to be completely honest. I felt they could have added some more parts from Murder Season in there, from Murder House in there. There was no Tate, no. But they did a very good job with the last two. So.
You don't know that he wasn't in the rubber suit?
Spoiler alert. Jeez. If you're watching the show, talk about that. Watch our show. We'll ruin a major plot point for you. I know where you're talking. I had that same feeling. Like, it starts off really good, and you're almost like, there were moments like the Piggy Man I kind of forgot about.
Yeah.
And you were like, but as soon as I saw him, I was like, I remember this.
Nice reminders. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think they could have had more of the family, maybe. And that's why I was thinking, they'll definitely have Tate with the skull in the school shooting thing. Like, but
it was good. It was fine. It wasn't, brilliant, but they progressively got better. Freak Show was very good. They did a very good job of representing Freak Show. Really nice aspects, blended together very well from one season to the next. I did like that. I'm so upset that you two haven't seen Hotel, because I feel Hotel was the best represented from the amount of characters they included.
Yeah, well, some of the scenes looked really cool to me. To the point, like that one when you're in the basement and there's all like the neon, and I think there's like people in the tubs, or they were like
clear coffins.
Yeah,
clear coffins.
I thought that part. I was like, this is cool looking.
Yeah.
And I've seen a little bit of it, so I knew who I knew Lady Gaga's the Countess was represented there.
You've got to remember as well with Hotel. There's so many different in the actual like series itself, there's so many different settings.
Yeah.
So there's a basement in the hotel, there's different rooms, different parts of the hotel. So it's very easy to make a house out of these settings. It's much more harder with the first season, Murder House, because you see the same room over and over and over and over again.
That's true.
So it's I liked it a lot. I think it was very clever how they did sync the actual original actors' audio with the scare actors. Very clever. My biggest hang-up with that, though, is it felt like everything was timed. So if you were like me and a little bit further back, you can look ahead and see when it's going to happen. So if you time it wrong, when you get into the house, you can already see the scares coming up ahead of you.
I'm gonna point that out. That they do that in all houses though, because if you listen to the music and you'll start to be able to hear the beat that
audio
and then you'll
cue,
notice, they're waiting for this drop of the beat to come out. That character comes out on this drop of the beat. The other character on the other side of the room comes out on the other side of the beat.
Yeah,
They're
there's
all
no
synced
way.
like that.
There's no way to prevent that. It has to happen. But that's what I think. That's kind of the benefit of Halloween Horror Nights. That it's not necessarily always about the scare. It's about the experience. It's about the beauty of the mazes. If it was solely trying to be about the scares, all it would be is, they would just make a pitch black maze where people would get in your face, and
which they do
can't
have
even
this
see
year.
them. I really well done house.
Yeah.
It was just, I think the most interesting part is, as I was watching, I knew I was watching it knowing it was going to be at the event, and pretty much all of the scenes that I expected to see, like iconic scenes from the show, none of them actually even made it in there. So some of the environments, obviously, and the characters, but I'm just glad they had Dandy in there. No.
The guy actually looked a little bit like Dandy as well, slightly. So
Yeah.
I was impressed. They did a good job casting.
When you go through the bus, that part was like super creepy. I thought.
Yeah.
But okay, let's continue. Let's say we ignored the American Horror Story House. The next thing we would come on is our first scare zone, A Chance in Hell. Okay, hand motions. So this is the scare zone where you are able to see this year's Halloween Horror Nights icon, Chance. And this is a bummer of a scare zone, honestly, in my opinion. It's
not my favorite.
It's essentially a glorified Chance meet and greet, where she does a little bit of a mini show where she's up on stage. But yeah, for the most part, it is just a meet and greet, which is it's nice to have that for anyone who wants to take a picture.
Yeah, I don't think you really got that photo opportunity with Jack last year, and I think they were trying to throw that back in there. And I'll say though, as scare zones as a whole, I think it was. I like it that the crazy clowns are at the beginning of it, because none of them blew me away.
You had her inmates walking around, and they're all crazy clown makeup. They do a good job, but I don't feel like any of the times I was there, I don't feel like they were going out of their way to try to scare people. It was more like, these are just going to be insane lunatics walking around smiling.
They wanted you to be like taking photos with them, is what it felt like. That they were like, we're here for the selfies.
And that's not my bag, baby.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Going to be my Halloween costume this year, Elton John.
Okay. Can't wait to see your Borat costume in 9 years.
Jack Shamaj.
My wife.
My wife. Oh, yeah. Okay.
It's a happy endings joke.
So we're going to move through A Chance in Hell, and then on the left, our entrance in front of the Universal Plaza stage is going to be The Exorcist.
Da, da, da. I can't cue it up
terrible.
in time. Yep.
You're
I know.
literally awful.
I know.
We had DJ Steve right over there. I never realized that. DJ Steve. It's a great Full House joke.
I was talking about being DJ Connor the other,
Yeah.
One of us could be DJ Tanner, one of us could be DJ Connor.
Exactly.
And then we have DJ Steve.
DJ Steve.
Couple made in heaven.
Yeah. Did they die and become a couple?
Yeah, spoilers.
So you haven't seen Fuller House yet.
All takes place in heaven, the good place. NBC's this fall.
It's on Netflix.
No, it's not.
Oh, The Good Place.
Good Place.
Okay. I thought you were just saying it.
Moving on,
Place. Okay.
The Exorcist, based on the movie The Exorcist, based on the book The Exorcist, based on the events.
The Exorcism.
The Exorcism
Of Emily Rose.
It's
not. Sorry.
The Exorcist is not a straight up adaptation of the movie The Exorcist. It does have those iconic moments from the movie in it. You got Reagan's head spinning around. You have I don't want to say less than impressive spider walk scene. I don't think they have it fully functioning yet on the level that they want to. You have plenty of pea soup all around, including the smells of pea soup.
Which is interesting that they were like, we might as well take the joke and pump it in.
Yeah.
Pump in the smell of pea soup instead of the smell of vomit.
That's funny.
But and you have the levitating, you have the power of Christ compelling you. You've got all the classic.
No crucifix, huh? we spoke about it so clearly.
We've talked about this before. That is the peak where we cut off. If we're gonna bring that up again, we're not.
But that scene is alluded to in the house, though, isn't it?
No. I didn't see it at all.
I thought there was one scene where I was like, "Oh, that she's done it."
No.
Okay.
No. And if it was, then I didn't notice it any of the times I was in there.
Look at it. Go back.
But so yeah, in they had to find a way to kind of fill out the in-betweens, because they said this whenever they announced the house, that it does all take place mostly in this one bedroom. So how do they expand it? And how do they make it different? Well, they add in the element of they're going to get very hellish, like very, very hellish in it. And so it's kind of like you're seeing the story play out from a different aspect that you don't even get to see in the movie, and I appreciate that. They took liberties with it, obviously, but I believe they added a little bit to the story and made a maze that's very beautiful, potentially lacking in scares, in my opinion, just a little bit. While there were some scary moments, for the most part, it was pretty tame. It was more like you are getting to just watch this movie happening.
This falls into the same category as American Horror Story. They built it to be pretty, to be accurate to the film. They built it for the fans, I feel, not for the scares. Like Craig said, there are scary aspects. All of them will have jumpy aspects, but this was not built, I feel, to try and scare you. Some of them were, and some of them did.
I'm going to disagree, because I've told this story before about my mother and father saw this film in the movie theater or something, and I remember when my Ouija board became a thing again in like the 90s, and not knowing that was a scene in the movie. And my dad, when he found out I had one, he used quite the vulgar language about me getting rid of it, and I was like, what? This man has been to war. I don't understand what on a Ouija board matters. And my mom told me later, she's like, well, I think that's the one movie that your dad's afraid of. And so it's not pop out scary, but it is. I think that there are people who will be frightened of this.
Yeah.
Possession and all that stuff,
Oh, yeah. I mean, Kylie's that way. She's never seen the movie. She is just scared by the idea of possession.
Right.
It's something that makes her uncomfortable.
I respect it quite a bit for taking that route, for not being a pop-out scary house. And one of my number one things I said when we were done with the house is it lets those iconic moments of the movie be those moments. Yeah. So when you're in that room and Reagan's head spinning around, or even the power of Christ, like the windows are open, the shutters are going, the fans moving, and I'm in the movie. Like, I'm in the room in that scene in the movie, and I loved it because it wasn't like, it takes your breath away almost, but it's not like, oh, someone's going to grab me right now from behind.
And there is like a cool aspect of how you don't really realize it right away, but in the final scenes, you actually get thrown out of the house.
Yeah, that's the only part of the house that I actually noticed was a different perspective. So I know you had hyped it up and they had hyped it up, but when I went through the house, I was like, this is the movie. I didn't ever feel like it was that part for me where it diverted from the movie a little bit and was like, okay, now we're going with the demon.
Yeah, there a little bit here and there. But a lot of like the pop-out scares that do happen are pretty early in the house with Reagan. In one room that's just awesome. Whenever the music changes, all of a sudden it's like demon hell room, and it's a very cool effect. I definitely give props to this house. I think
I think it's like tied with my favorite. I think it's in my top 3, if not being like my second or favorite.
And we'll get to our top lists later on in this show. But we're going to keep moving on to our next original house, which is the entrance is also in the Music Plaza stage area to the right of the Exorcist, and that is Ghost Town, The Curse of Lightning Gulch.
Nice.
Yes.
I wish I had a lightning sound effect right now, but just don't.
Where's the giant sheet metal that you're shaking right there?
Nope.
I don't know what house you
You got to
went
do
to.
the whooshing sound with it.
That was the saloon portion of the house.
This, I will call this probably the dark horse of the original houses. This was one that I believe myself, Oliver, said we were very excited about. Maybe you too. And it ended up.
Said I was excited.
And it ended up pulling through. This is an amazing house. First off, it's very long, and it's not. I would argue that it's not very claustrophobic because there are select scenes in this house where just the sets that they built are massive. There's a shootout happening outside. With a cannon on a train, and it's just the room is so big. Yeah, it was on a train car.
Oh, I don't know that I noticed that because when you do walk into that scene, it is very much like I have literally just stepped out of the saloon. And I am in this town.
And that was the next one.
It is like swirling, and nighttime, the wind is going. And I remember seeing the guy with the cannon, and I remember just being like, I just want to stay in this room for a minute.
And you leave a saloon to go outside, and even the saloon, it feels like an actual 2-story saloon. There's amazing weather effects at one point in the maze.
And they're very clearly telling a story, too. I think as far as any original house I've ever been in, this is the best one I've ever done because immediately from the get-go, you're like, oh, somebody sat down and wrote the story for this. It wasn't like, vague story, walk through here. It was like, no, this is the plot, and this is how it's going to go.
It's right. It was a mixture of that story being executed well and the way they used the open spaces. Every other house, bar one, which was terrible and we'll come on to, used very tight spaces, very, very tight spaces. Like you have the small rooms, the small corridors. That's almost what they rely on to make the house work. This did have that, but like you said, you walk out and you find yourself in this, even though you're in a soundstage, like this outdoor area that's sold so well through these different effects, like the weather effects, and it's refreshing almost. It's like, ooh, I'm not done this yet.
It's that transportive element of it, where now you're like, it almost can add to the scare. Not, just because it doesn't have to be claustrophobic to be scary, but it feels like when you feel you've been transported into the story. The same way in that Exorcist scene, like that was a big room.
I want to see the movie of Lightning Gulch now.
Yeah,
I want to see Universal take this and adapt it into something.
I would watch it.
I don't know how
like
they
a B
need to.
movie, and like you could get it in Redbox.
I don't want to see it on Sci-Fi, please. No, but I think there is a concept here. It's fantastic, and I wasn't. They told us that this was a requel, and that they have done Ghost Town, Lightning Gulch kind of before, so they are doing. This was just a different take on it, but not necessarily a sequel to it. So I don't know how the first time around they did this concept, but this I will say now, this is the original to not miss.
Yeah.
It's also a house not to miss, in my opinion. You'll find out where it is on my list later. But we've got to cross into our next Scar Zone, and that is the potentially cool but kind of a letdown Survive or Die Apocalypse.
It just was a lot of hammer pants.
Ooh.
Everybody was wearing hammer pants. If we are going towards some sort of dystopian future, I am not wearing like Aladdin hammer pants in the future. I don't care. Just run around naked.
I think the concept of this scare zone was great. The execution was just terrible. I think it's one where they struggle to fill such an open space. Yeah. So that's the biggest challenge that they have.
It's a shame because they had cool effects in there because like the
projection,
the building crumbles with the projection, but it's very like, I saw a couple of people and I'm like, those are the good guys, those are the bad guys. But I was like, what am I doing here? What am I? When it was The Purge, you're like, okay, I know the idea. And then when it was The Thing last year.
Here's the thing, though. Whenever it was The Purge, as well as last year, whenever they did with Shady Brook, both of those utilized. And I know they have them this year for this one too. They utilize shows very well. So like with the Purge year, they had the auctioneer come up on the bus and do that show. That was a
like
big chunk of the area. And then they also had the white van with the butcher or whatever he's called in that come out, and that started a whole that was also part of the auction, I believe, too, is that they would take some people, but there was big elements being used there. Last year in Shady Brook,
they had like
they had the costume contest, arguably one of my favorite parts of last year. They had like the bobbing for apples set, and
there was like the pumpkin carving area,
and then there was plenty of insane trick-or-treaters walking around. While there was a great amount of scare actors in this area, a lot, and there were little pump-up things happening around, and a little bit of shows with like a car driving through and all that. The concept, while it did have all this promise, it just doesn't.
I felt the
feel
most
right.
safe here.
Yeah,
I felt the most. Yeah. I felt the least likely. I thought, this is an area I can just stand in for a few minutes, and like somebody might walk by me or stand next to me, but nobody's gonna like come out, and I didn't feel like I was in a scare zone.
Yeah, they didn't seem to really have like chainsaws, weapons, anything to scare you with as such. I think they probably did have weapons, but they just weren't very scary. So it was kind of like the in-your-face scares. That's what they were relying on, and it just didn't work that much because it's a big space.
I mean, there could be some argument too in terms of weapons because of some of the tragedies that have happened this year. They could be on trying to keep things a little bit more tame in terms of some of the weapons and how they're scaring. Obviously, there's tons of chainsaws. The roaming chainsaw hordes are out in full force this year between the geisha girls, the cheerleaders,
hillbillies,
some of the classic.
See, I only saw the geishas when we went.
There's tons.
And even then, I was like, what the hell are these like?
You should see
it made me laugh. I mean, I respect it for being different, but I was like, what is going on?
Cheerleaders are my favorite.
Yep, I agree completely.
Yeah. They're doing a stand-up job with it. Clowns are back with chainsaws too. It's good. God. It's great. But there is also a disappointing maze inside this disappointing scare zone, and that is The Walking Dead.
Just like when I say missed opportunity, I feel like this maze is the definition of it. I think the scare zone, the maze itself, it's very like, there are those scenes you start walking through and you see Dale's, it was Dale, right? That's his name. The old man from the first few seasons. Yeah. His camper, and then they've got this little tent set up where it's whatchamacallit's husband getting eaten. Andrea.
Sorry, I'm like half paying attention to you right now.
She made the cookies for the boy in the last season. What the heck is her name? And
she's
been on since the first season. She's the one who like
everyone loves her.
She's like crazy now, but anyway, so moving on, you like go through these scenes, which I thought the farmhouse was missed opportunity, like underrepresented in this completely, and then Carol. You get to season 3 and you're in the mayor's office with the heads and everything. There, not a single moment during this was I like, where are the human characters? Where? And it didn't even have to be Rick or Daryl or Carol or Carl or any of these people. However, we'd already done American Horror Story maybe at this point, maybe not. I don't think we had. But either way, that's what I'm saying is that they excel because it's the show I watch and I'm seeing the scenes from the show, but I'm a part of it. Here we've watched The Walking Dead for 6 years. There wasn't a single freaking regular person in there. Where's the mayor where's Michonne with her machete?
I would say they probably have something in their contracts or something with AMC that says they're not allowed to use the likeness of the characters.
And I think they need to stop doing these if that's the case.
That's just my guess.
Other than scare zones, if you're doing it at a house, you need them.
I could be completely wrong on that, but I think that's probably what is something around there that they don't want to showcase some of these characters because of that. It's just we thought there would be promise in this one. While I think it is a good maze in general, if this was your first year of coming to HHN, first time you're ever going to do The Walking Dead, you will not leave this house disappointed.
I think it's the best Walking Dead house they've done for sure.
Yeah.
Like it's very clearly like scenes from the show.
Yep.
But to me it felt like I was seeing it on a preview night because there weren't those people, but which we weren't. We were on a regular night, so that's the. This for me is a big missed opportunity.
Yeah. It leaves nothing for the repeat visitor to Halloween Horror Nights that's come year after year after year. There's nothing new in this house. I would say this is a pretty much a skip. If you have to like sacrifice one or the other,
save it for the end.
Unless we're talking about sacrifice this or chance, we'll get there. But this is it. It's not for the repeat person. It's for if this is your first time, you love The Walking Dead, you will love this house. But
it was my first time doing this house ever, and I was just.
Do you watch The Walking Dead?
I've seen season 1. It was just okay. There was a few aspects of the house I thought were clever. I like the projections on the tent in the beginning. Yeah. That was nice. It just wasn't executed.
But you're not a Walking Dead fan.
I'm not, no. I feel like this house, though, the way it was done, from what we were talking about a second ago, this house could have worked better as a scare zone. Instead of having survive or die there, they should have had a Walking Dead scare zone. I think that's what they should have done.
It was a scare zone before, like 3 years ago, before it became the thing. Yeah. So they had like
22.
That camper they're using is from when they used to have the scare zone.
Okay. I believe it was 22. It was literally all Walking Dead was everything. That was 23. It was 23.
Yeah, it was 3 years.
Walking Dead was everything.
It was because it was a scare zone for a couple of years, but that's I don't know. Maybe that's the way it needs to be, because if you can't have the actual characters in the house, then you're not really telling me a story. You're just showing me locations.
Yeah. Well, moving on, walking towards San Francisco. Sorry, we will come across Dead Man's Wharf. The next scare zone we will talk about. Beautiful during the daytime. Love the story behind it. That it was, the ship crashed and all the seamen are there to steal their they're there to try to take souls and all that good stuff. I love that there's people wearing like old 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea style diving suits.
Dive.
This while Survive or Die is bad because there is too much happening, or there's not enough happening in such a big area, this suffers from the exact opposite fault, in that this is such a tight, cramped area that nothing can really happen here. No. It is just a mess of people bottlenecking.
Ship is so far out, and then the construction wall is so far forward because they added all those boxes in front of it.
See, I think this is why it worked so well. To me, this was the only scare zone that was actually scary. All the other ones were just like, oh, it's a scare zone, and it was very easy to avoid being scared because of that bottleneck. I felt this was the only scary scare zone.
I didn't feel like anybody could come up and scare us.
Exactly.
It was kind of like I could see them all, and they were just kind of moseying through.
You couldn't get away from them, though, and they were very big and very intimidating. That's what I'd say, because these fishermen are big guys. Like Craig and I are like 6'2", and some of them are taller than us. So it's like I was scared, and you can't just slowly walk to the side because everyone's bottlenecked together. So sometimes they are right there, right next to you, and you can't move. So that's why I thought it actually worked, to be honest.
I feel like. Yeah, I don't know. There's no way to fix this one. They need the props. They need the set that they have in there. Whenever the fog's rolling in, it is a beautiful area. I would say if you want to get the fullest experience out of Dead Man's Wharf, maybe save it for like very late in the night while scare actors are still coming out, but it's starting to slow down, or try to hit it before it gets too busy. Like you have to wait till dark. The scare zones will start being populated by scare actors even in the daytime as it transitions into night, but you don't get the same effect out of it. It's because you can see the makeup, and in some cases, the darkness helps make the makeup look better than it is.
It sells it.
Listen, they have very little time each night to get these people made up and put out there. They do a tremendous job at what they do.
I wanted to do that. Applied for that job once.
No, they are fantastic about it, but
to do the makeup.
Sometimes they have to cut a little bit of corners, knowing that it will be dark. But yeah, Dead Man's Wharf. Yeah.
What's next, Craig?
What is next? Well, next is God, I feel like we're moving. We're just rolling around on Disappointment Central as we move on to our first show that we will discuss, Bill and Ted's Excellent Halloween Adventure.
How misleading of a name.
Yeah.
That'll make more sense eventually if you watch the
I
show.
think I did mention. We're no spoilers for that. We will give no spoilers away for Bill and Ted this year. That's
Okay. Yep. Okay.
That's like one thing I feel like you
Spoiler
can give.
alert, be prepared to be disappointed.
Yeah, I will talk some spoilers in it, but I won't give away like full blown jokes. I know I said it was disappointing whenever I experienced it on preview night. Well, after seeing it 2 more times, it still couldn't redeem itself. What is the problem this year? Well, the theme is based around Star Wars: The Force Awakens, and
See, I don't even care about that. I care. It's just like they like hit on stuff that it was like, are you making fun of the way I talk? Like, I don't know. It didn't feel like as clever as it is, and even stuff like I'm a sucker for the dancing. I love the dancing, and the dancing wasn't even.
well, the dancing was still fine. The dancing wasn't anything.
Like last year. I remember being like, yes, this is great.
There was some iconic moments of dancing last year, like whenever the guy this year who plays Kylo Ren, last year he did Bruce Banner, and he had like the show-stopping hilarious moment of the show whenever he, you want to know my secret? I'm always horny, and it was a good show last year.
That
We
was
didn't get to
definitely a
experience
soundbite right there. What Craig just said, but it's Rilo Ken.
Yes.
Not Kylo Ren.
Blah, blah. Yeah. Yeah, but that was so. My problem is, Bill and Ted is best whenever they have their finger on the pulse of what is relevant this year. I don't. In my opinion, Force Awakens has been over now for
But it's okay.
months and months and months.
We talked about this too because we were like, oh no, Halloween, and you were like, oh no, it won't be Star Wars stuff this year because it's all last year. But
Yeah.
you're like, no, but it just missed Halloween last year. But now it feels too far away.
It does.
You know what I mean? Like if Halloween was in March, that would have been great. Like,
But it's not just that. I feel like they actually wrote this a long time ago, and that was it. It finished.
oh yeah,
because
they stopped writing it in February because it was like there's another joke that's relevant
Yep.
to a Super Bowl commercial, and
Yep.
there's the only other reference that was past that time of year was to one album that they hold up at one point, and then the tribute they make too. But
Yeah.
but other than that,
Yeah.
yeah.
They were all. The thing with Bill and Ted is it's always like really up to date pop
Yeah.
culture references, and it just wasn't. These were old pop culture references. These were months and months old. So I just feel like it was wrote. It was a first draft, and then they just didn't update it.
In a year when you thought it would be ripe with like, oh, it'll be a Hillary and Donald Trump thing
Yep.
for sure.
And Hillary does have the best moment in the show, I think, in my opinion.
I liked another thing. but
Spoiler:
yeah.
Hillary hot sauce.
Oh, okay.
It's a very cheap visual gag, but it's that's probably the highlight dance moment of the year. It was such a bummer.
What I will say is I enjoyed the start of Bill and Ted, but that's because of the situation I was in. I was sitting in front of a very conservative family that apparently didn't get the memo that you shouldn't bring children to this event because they had like a 7 and an 8-year-old with 6 and 7-year-old, very young children. And within the first 60 seconds, when the girls come out that aren't wearing much, they're wearing lingerie.
The boob troopers.
So, exactly, yeah, the boob troopers, which the name says it all. They left within the first 60 seconds, and it was fantastic. That was the best part of the
I can't
show.
even imagine them walking them through, like, if that offended them, walking them through, like, a Texas Chainsaw Massacre house and be like, body parts. Like, what house would have been okay? What scare zone would have been okay? There's bodies everywhere.
I just don't know about this show. Like, the first night I saw it, I did laugh out loud at a couple moments. But then I think my issue is whenever I rewatched it, those moments were no longer laugh out loud moments for me because I already knew the joke. Whereas last year, even though the same jokes over and over again,
I would have
they were
watched last
strong.
year's repeatedly because I liked the TARDIS and the Back to the
well,
and like it made like I liked the whole theme that Kim and Kanye had stolen it and was like Bill and Ted needed to stop them and
like,
there was no real plot this year. It was like Bill and Ted weren't really charged with doing anything.
And 2 years ago, having every single night you would laugh your butt off whenever whenever Fat Elsa came out. Like that was just it was perfect. It was great. This year the plot was on the loose end that freaking Kylo Ren, or however we want to say it brings Bill and Ted on. He's all emo.
They were trying to do the emo. They were trying to be relevant to Twitter, being the emo Kylo Ren account, and it just wasn't. It wasn't. Yeah. It just they didn't. They're rushing it, so you can't be emo and be that fast paced. I don't know.
I don't know. I did enjoy the emo Rick Moranis line. That did make my day.
Yeah. I just don't know if this was written for a much younger audience than us, like trying to capture in that teen audience that would find a lot of these jokes funny, or if
I'm 19, so I don't know.
Or if it was an inside joke with the writers where they're like, no, this is fantastic, and they weren't truly thinking about what the audience would find funny. Something went wrong on this one, and something's going wrong in the house right beside it, and that is Lunatic's Playground 3D. You won't stand a chance.
This stupid tunnel effect when you walk in there, it makes me always feel like it's a really, really cool effect. And I didn't even put 3D glasses on this year, and I was like, I'm going to fall off this bridge.
That was the best part about the whole house, the 3D effects. And it's for anyone that doesn't know, this is the 3D house, which isn't 3D. They're the glasses that just like disperse the light.
Those
so
like
it just
firework
looks more.
glasses.
Yeah, the ones that Disney occasionally give out every now and again. I think for that reason that you're wearing these glasses that distort your vision almost, that's why there wasn't as many jump out scares, because I felt that this was another house that didn't have those jump out scares or as many of them, and it was just more like, oh, look at us, it's beautiful kind of thing, and it just didn't work.
Okay, so when I watched the footage back to do the video, I was even like, the whole plot is supposed to be it's Chance in the asylum, and whenever the music changes, you're in her delusional world, and you snap back and forth between the two. And when you're in her delusional world, it's so nonsensical almost. You're just like, it's just like someone in a costume going, like scraping a wall, just staring at you, and with like the electric, with the car jumper cables, and you're just like, okay, I don't know what this is. Like, I don't. The asylum parts where she's in the asylum, they were okay. They were cool. When she's like electrocuting the guy with the thing, I was like, oh, that's the beginning. That was the first scene, and then I kind of just went, woo.
Yeah. It was one of those houses where I felt like the sound design wasn't properly working, because on our VIP tour, they told us like, okay, you got to listen for the changes in music. That will tell you which reality you're actually in. If you're in the deranged one, or if you're in the real world. And I never couldn't. It was just one loud.
And when I listened back to it, I couldn't hear it. I was like, I hear music, but it's just one long. It didn't sound like two different songs.
Yeah, I love Chance. If last year's house was all about building up to that moment where you get that climactic scares from Jack and Monsters and Mayhem, this was the opposite. This was, Chance has a couple great moments in this house to shine, but she deserved a much more creative house than a 3D house.
And I don't want to say this and throw any shade at this being a sequel either. I like that idea, and I really hope they continue that thread of making other sequel. I love the idea that it's rewarding to fans.
And like the Walking Dead house, neither one of these houses are poorly built. They're not. The characters inside are doing great. The houses are pretty. It's just
pretty stupid.
There are some houses that it doesn't warrant waiting in line. Like, yeah, I'll hit this if it's a 5-minute wait again. That's about it. You're not going to get the enjoyment out of this house waiting for an hour. You're just not. And I know that, I don't know. I'm going to move on to the next house. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Ooh. And the entrance for Texas Chainsaw Massacre is right by the MIB bathrooms. And it's in one of the pop-up tents as well. And my opinion on this house changed as the event has gone on through the weekend. So on preview night, I was meh. On the night Rhino and I did it, I enjoyed it a little bit more. I haven't watched back all of our video yet. I need to post that.
What video?
I'll post that on Wednesday. Our video that we made while we were in the moment talking about the houses.
We have a Texas Chainsaw Texas Chainsaw Massacre house walkthrough video on our Diz YouTube channel at www.info.com.
We don't.
No, we don't.
We don't. We have Krampus and Lunatic's Playground.
Oh, I'm just kidding. On my laptop, I have a walkthrough video of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre house.
Yes, you do.
Come hang out with me, and I'll show it to you.
Yes. Got to pay to get in our house.
Sorry, I went through and I made one for it, and then I was like,
yeah, I know
you
that
can
was
only
on,
do two,
that was
and then
close.
we picked
yeah,
another one.
it was
so.
close. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is extremely detailed, extremely. And let's be honest, they got some really big guys to play Leatherface in this,
yes.
and they are intimidating, even for someone that is my size. And yeah, there's just a lot of really cool moments and aspects in this maze. I believe this is the maze that has it has or was that Lightning Gulch? Do you remember which one had the storyteller photo inside?
Oh, I didn't even see that.
You didn't even see that. I can't remember. It was either Lightning Gulch or Texas Chainsaw Massacre hanging on the wall. I'll have to go back and look at my video because I know I got a shot of that. But
it would make more sense, I think, to be in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but since that's not an original property.
I don't remember. I'll go back and look. Not that it matters for any of you guys. None of this matters. We're not showing a lot of visuals because, well, the scares... Anytime we went, basically, we were ushered through very quickly to go through. And then Oliver and I were going to try to get photos and video on Sunday night, and it just dumped rain on us.
Heavy rain.
Sorry for a lack of visuals on this. It's just... You don't understand that hard VIP life whenever they don't let you stop and experience the scare zones. It's terrible. It's tragic.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on Texas?
I thought it was good. I mean, it's very true to the film. I think you walk in, you're in that house. One of the first things you do, Leatherface has that massive door that he slams shut. That sets you off right away. And they've got the family and the scenes. Like I don't know. The house itself is very well decorated.
The house is well decorated. It's very accurate to the film. Like the characters,
lots of leather faces.
Lots and lots of leather faces. Yep. I would say, unlike some of the other mazes we've spoke about so far, this is a jumpy maze. This is one where you're gonna, and get back. It's one you're anticipating that next scare. So.
This one's one of those ones that it's never over when you think it is.
I would,
yes.
I'd argue that this is actually probably the scariest house based on
really
what I was walking through and watching other people's reactions. This was just absolutely terrifying people. And because it never ends, once you think the scares are over, then you're layered with 2 or 3 more.
Well, and it's just the house, like I said, the decoration of the house itself. It's just that dirty, you know the scenes from the movie, either the remake or not. They're both very similar.
It's very disturbing.
You're just, even if nobody jumped out at me, I'd feel very uncomfortable walking through the house. So I think they succeeded.
Hillbillies are gross.
Very well.
Yeah.
Sorry if you're a hillbilly.
Well, they're incestuous hillbillies too, I believe. So,
yeah, there's that whole scene about it.
Just like our very own Oliver Green. Wonderful. Wow. Okay.
Okay. I don't know. I think this is definitely up there in the top houses.
I agree. So the next house is our original house. This is back in the Kid Zone area. This is the left side of Kid Zone area, walking through Barney, day in the park with him. And this is Tomb of the Ancients. So this is the monster mash of Indiana Jones slash The Mummy kind of style, ancient mythologies all put together in one dark, claustrophobic,
I hated this
spooky house. You hated it.
For more than one reason.
It doesn't matter. I'll say this. It doesn't matter why the reason is you hated it, because I mean it is something for them to look at in terms of the aesthetics and the design of the house.
No, I'm not. I wouldn't say don't go in. I will always argue to go in every single house in Halloween Horror Nights.
So I'll let you talk about it.
It's that bad to go through, but I don't think the story's very clear. Like you come in and it's like that jungle area and there's a car outside, and I get the idea that it's supposed to be Indiana Jones-esque because there's a lot of Egyptian stuff in there. It is very claustrophobic. The entire house has stuff hanging the whole time, but they're very thin threads, and one got caught in my earring, and it pulled on my ear and so I had to stop and pull this thing out of my ear, and it kept happening. And so I had to cover the side of my head the whole time because it was my cartilage earring that it kept getting caught in. And I just... because it was so claustrophobic too, when they come out to do their scares, they're too close to me that I can't. I was just kind of like, I can't see. Like, I don't know what you are because you're not an iconic thing, so I can't take in the scene very well. So that's my other thing, is that I will say this thing that I did really enjoy about the house, though, is there was constantly this slamming thing that was happening. Like, it was like they had... I don't know what you would call them.
It sounded like somebody almost had like a mallet and was just smacking the walls.
On both
it was that
sides
loud.
of you, and it was like they were dropping and hitting, so you could feel the vibration, but you could hear it. And I think that was very clever because it puts you on edge right away.
Yeah, it's the only house that has the real life loud noises like that make you feel nervous. All the others are pre-recorded, they're coming through a speaker. This is like you can hear it, it's right next to you. This house relies heavily on it being extremely dark and extremely loud for its scares. I honestly think you were going to see changes to this house before the end of the event, because there was parts where the people in front of me stopped moving because they couldn't see where they were going. It was that dark. Like, it was actually confusing. All the other houses have a very clear path. This one was like, oh, it's dark. I can't see where to go next. So
I did have a moment like that in another house we're going to get to, though. It scared the crap out of me because I didn't know where to go next. In like a panic way, because you were like, there's no team member anywhere. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, but I think that was more because we had the cameras in our face. Whenever I did it the next time, not with a camera, it was very clear.
I want to know what house.
We'll get to it.
So, yeah, I don't really have anything else to say about Tomb of the Ancients. It showed a lot of promise on the first night. I know a lot of people are excited about it. I'm just not wild about it. It also, I mean, for us, whenever we went to it, that for our stay in Scream, this was the third house we hit, and it was the second longest line the entire night that we ended up waiting for. And granted, that was only 20 minutes, but it's not doing it for me yet. I would, if I'm doing an original house, I'd rather do Lightning Gulch.
100%.
Mm-hmm. The one thing that's definitely the above and beyond better than the other original houses.
Yeah, you will get some good scares out of this house. 100. Like, it made me jump a few times to the point where I was pushing the person in front of me. And there is a very nice.
My sister.
It was, yeah, it was Craig's sister. Poor Craig's sister. I was just pushing her from behind, like, let's go, we've got to go. And there is one nice scene I can remember that has some sort of lighting effect I won't ruin it for anyone, but it's in the wall and it changes, and that was very nice.
Yeah.
So. But overall, it sits on my list somewhere in the middle. That's how I'd put it. It's not a disappointment. It's not like a wow. It was just like, oh, that's nice. This could be better.
So right next to it, the other entrance for another house in that area, the house with Michael Myers, and that is, of course, Halloween. Hell Comes to Haddonfield. This house makes me happy inside.
This is like probably one of my favorites. It's definitely tied up there. I don't know if it is my favorite, but it's got some of my favorite moments for sure.
I think I said it was my favorite moment leaving the event the first night that you and I did it together. Mm-hmm. Since then, that's changed. But, there is just like the first Halloween house they did, they beautifully craft the story of Halloween 2.
Yeah.
In this maze, where I don't feel like, if you've never seen Halloween 2, I'm pretty sure you could understand everything that just happened.
And I understood it.
Okay, there you go.
That's the thing. Yeah, I felt like I was walking through the plot of the movie, and now when I'm gonna watch it before I go again, and so I feel like I'm just gonna completely understand it now.
Yep, it hit on everything right. So Michael Myers is in this maze everywhere, which is perfect. It brought back the trick-or-treaters wearing the masks.
Wait, you're
from
start
Halloween
further back
3.
than that, because my favorite thing about this house was the entrance into the house is you through a closet.
Yeah, well, I mean, it picks up right where the movie picks up.
Yeah,
technically. So you haven't watched it yet, but the movie starts with right before Dr. Loomis starts shooting Michael Myers.
Yeah, and that's also where they were saying that's where the house was too, right? Like, from last time, is that they recreated those scenes from the last two scenes from the house, right?
Yeah, those weren't.
But then I walked through and I was like,
They were different.
Yeah, okay.
They were essentially, it was seeing it from a different side, but it picks up just like that, and then it takes you into the actual story of going around. It brings back the trick-or-treaters from Halloween 3, the best Halloween movie out there.
The only one without Michael Myers in it.
The best one. And then
Season of the Witch.
Then then you end up at the hospital just like you do in the movie, and you have iconic moments like the hot tub drowning, burning.
Yeah, which by the way, watching that video back, you
you can see the
clothes.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, wait a second, because the camera could see better than I could, so I was like, oh, that lady is topless.
It's 100% accurate to the movie.
Yeah.
It's just it's got all the cool. It's got all the moments. Like really, I can't say like, oh well, they left this out, they left that out. It has everything that you want from Halloween House. The only bummer is that they have done Halloween 1, they've done Halloween 2. I don't think they're gonna do Halloween 3 just because of how overtly racist it is against the Irish people. And
Michael's
just
not
a
in
bad
that one
movie
either, too. But,
in that, yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised if they maybe jump forward now to like H2O, or they do like. It'd be a leap if they did Jason in space. The Halloween is that Jason? That's when it started becoming Jason and not. Oh, I'm sorry.
You're
I'm sorry.
going into
I'm mixing,
different
matching. But
yeah.
I wouldn't mind them like doing the H2O one, or even jumping into the Rob Zombie one, which makes me so uncomfortable. That movie.
I love it. It is a must-hit house, and based on the first weekend, the wait times for this aren't that long.
I thought this would have had the most wait.
I thought so too, but it's throughout the night. We were seeing it only being like a 15, 20-minute wait. And I mean, yeah, it did jump up longer.
At the end of the night.
We walked in right at the end. We took advantage of it during the stay and Scream, and we walked through in 5 minutes. So Halloween's a don't miss. Leaving Halloween, walking through Central Park, we are going to hit the Lair of the Banshee, the next scare zone we talk about. And yeah, it's short, it's foggy. There's jumping left and right out of you. There's kind of distorted creative
things
creatures. There's a giant opposite white KKK person. He's wearing like a giant white.
I think you're thinking of a Death Eater.
Yeah, I know that too. It's weird. It's very weird. It's like a Grim Reaper. I really don't know what they were going for with it on stilts.
Which I thought was the scariest part. Like, there was one the first night I went. I didn't see it so much when Craig and I attended, but the first night I went, those stilt people, one of them in particular, was very confident on his stilts because he was just like lunging at people, and that was terrifying.
Oh yeah, stilts are universal. There was one year. Where I can't remember what the scare zone was. I want to say back whenever they had 2 years ago, whenever the voodoo lady was supposed to cut people's heads off and stuff in there. I want to say the stilt walkers they had at that time. I can remember them like sprinting on their stilts going after people. Ones, so I think this. I mean, you literally have to walk through this to get to the other houses. There's no real avoiding this one. But it's pretty, Don't just rush through it. Take a time to look at all the details in it. It definitely has a spooky aspect to it.
Yeah.
You come out on the other side, and that's where the big stage is erected for Academy of Villains, House of Fear, the dance troupe that came all the way from California to do some of their creative dancing. That uses a couple really unique visual tricks. And I love this thing.
Yeah.
I'm saying it on the record now. This is a must see. If you had to sacrifice missing a lesser house, missing a couple lesser houses just to make your schedule work to see this show, I would absolutely go out of my way to do it. While short, only about 10 minutes-ish, maybe 15. It is just, there's an energy to it. There's a creativity to it, and they're just really good dancers. And I don't even like dancing.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. Like, it's something that's never appealed to me.
All right, John Lithgow, the mayor of the non-dancing town from Footloose.
No, I like Bill and Ted dancing. I mean, I'm a man. Just like you're a guy. People like seeing people without clothes dancing.
Yes,
every
that's
now
why
and
everyone
then.
likes the Bill and Ted show. But these were talented people.
Yeah,
well, they
were-
had their tops off as well at some points, but still, they were very talented. And I think the rewatchability in this show is very, very high. I think this is something I'm going to actually end up hitting every time I go.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if while the show is the same, if they have different twists they can actually take on some of their moves. It blew me away. I knew they did before I saw it on preview night, they did another preview for entertainment cast members, and they were talking about how incredible it was. Or entertainment team members, sorry. They were right. This is such a new, just a new take on how a show you can bring it to Halloween Horror Nights. Would I take this over seeing Rocky Horror Picture Show ever be resurrected again? Yeah, I'd rather have this one. And I love Rocky. I would rather have Rocky this year other than Bill and Ted, but that's a different story. So we're going to move through Hollywood to perhaps, I'm not going to say perhaps, it is the best scare zone of the year. Vamp 55. Vampires taking over a homecoming parade at Hollywood High. And
So good.
it's wonderful. It's everything we expected it could be and more.
It feels so. I'm sure people know because Rhino and I talk about it often. We're huge fans of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and this felt so much like Buffy. It was unbelievable, from the makeup to like the school setting. I know it's setting a different time period, but no, I love this.
The movie Buffy, she's they got like poodle skirts on in there.
Yeah, that's true.
Still gives me that vibe, but yeah, I mean this one it was a good use of the surrounding theme. It was a great use, like the scare actors that they've chose to be in this scene. They really chose very well.
Yeah, I feel like they cast them. They were the most interactive I found.
They've got a passion for what they're doing.
Yeah, they have a story. Like you can talk to these individual like scare actors, and they're like they know their character, whereas the other ones are like rah and just try and make you jump. Like this one was really good.
There really is. There's a show aspect to it.
Yeah.
It's great. It's like Grease if vampires took over.
Yeah,
maybe.
No motorcycles.
I felt
involved
like there was
in
a little
this
bit
one.
more Michelle Pfeiffer vibe in this than
shut
you're
up.
admitting to.
Shut up. No way. We spent Rhino and I spent probably 20 minutes just kind of chilling out there. I know
My favorite picture of the night came from that area. Actually.
I was hanging out waiting for Oliver at one point in time, just chilling out, and I was just watching everything happen in it.
And at that point in time, I was looking for you, and I was just walking back and forth through that scare zone.
Yeah.
So I knew you were in there somewhere, and I just wanted to spend time in there. It was so good.
Yeah,
It's the music, the acting, the how good the makeup is. It's all tied together so well. It's such an enjoyable scare zone.
Find a bench and park it.
Yes.
So that will lead us to our final house and the final topic of discussion today, and that is Krampus. Krampus, the house based on the 2015 Michael Dougherty movie, which blends comedy, terror, and some people's favorite holiday, Christmas. And while I believe it didn't fully live up to expectations because of some of the choices and how to portray the scares,
The
I love
gingerbread
this
man.
house.
This house for me is my most disappointing house. I think I had it as like number one on my list, and I think it's toward the in original property, not original properties,
Intellectual.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it is toward the bottom for me only because I felt like I love the aspect of the Christmas and Halloween combined. It's like the house last year that had you enter from the outside of the house where it's snowing and it's Christmas time, and they had that same kind of effect here, and it was great. But again, I think this house suffered from not having any characters from the movies being portrayed, so there was no like human characters when I was there, and everything that came out when I went through. So this is how Halloween Horror Nights experiences can be different. Every creature was the same. It was just weird, big puppet-looking things that kept popping out at me, and I was disappointed. I wanted the murdering. They made such a big deal about having the murdering gingerbread men, and they were just a statue on the counter. They didn't even move.
I will disagree with you on some aspects of needing characters from the film. Walking Dead is a character-driven drama at this point. American Horror Story is a character-driven drama. Krampus was not a character-driven
No, but I
comedy
need
by
people
any.
seeing people in the scary situation. Like
And they did.
I'm just walking through a house
In
with no
the
aspect.
in the attic scene,
And that's it.
they had the Jack in the Box strangling.
Right,
the-
that's it though. Where's the
Yeah, that
so when
was
we
it.
go through the living room with the sleeping bags all set up and the snow's pouring, and I'm like, there's no context for any of it.
Yeah, I mean, so they could have had some of the characters in the situations they were in the movie. I will agree with that. They could have easily got a David Koechner hillbilly lookalike in there, battling it out with some of the characters. They did an overusage of Krampus's elf-looking minions.
There was
all
like
over
a
the
million
house.
of them. I didn't even understand.
Those were the main scares in it.
But then my disappointment comes with, if you haven't seen the movie, this house is I would just recommend to you, don't even waste your time then, because and I think that's where it fell short, is that I couldn't tell there was a story really. Like I got the story, but I don't know. I like the idea of I don't like the idea. I'm not a masochistic person, but I need like the person, like the woman in the attic being strangled. I needed somebody in the kitchen terrified of the gingerbread man on the counter. You know what I mean? Like the sets in this are beautiful. I think that
That's why I enjoyed it.
So I shouldn't say that you should skip it. At
But
all.
you're talking.
wouldn't say that,
If
but-
we talk about it in the same sense with Halloween, they didn't have that in Halloween this year. It was mostly Michael Myers popping out.
Boob girl.
Yeah, that was a puppet. That was a puppet.
I would have been fine with animatronic people. I'm always okay with the animatronic people.
I'm just saying, it's basically those houses in that regards are the same this year. It wasn't like last year where you had Laurie on the couch being attacked by Michael, and you had the girl in the car.
No, the woman, the hospital. The sister is in the hospital. She is in the scene, and she's.
You have a couple.
Yeah.
You have a couple. But I'm saying it's the same style of Krampus. It relies on more of the scares from the scary things, not actually having the people interact with it. Krampus is. I will say Krampus, in my opinion, is the most beautiful house that they built this year, and it goes beyond just the aesthetic look of the house. It also goes into the smells. Like I was talking about before we started this show, there was a lot of disappointment. Well, Krampus was only in it like once. Well, because we were looking at in one of the first outside scenes, Krampus is right up there on the roof. It took me 4 times going through the house before I actually saw him up there. And it's just there are a lot of hidden gems in this house. Mostly the smell.
Yeah, 100%.
I'll go over and over again with Oliver and the smells.
He kept whispering it in my ear behind me, like, the smells. And that was the scariest part of the whole house. No, this is the least scariest house. Like, the most you're going to get is a slight jump scare, and that's it. But what this house offers kind of trumps that. The scenes are so well done, and unlike the other houses, these have to be lit really well because it's not in the dark, it's in an actual house, so they kind of go into them. There's much more detail. You can take more time looking around each room and really absorb that detail in there. It's just, I loved it. I really, really enjoyed this house. It's not scary at all, but it's so well done. It smells amazing. It looks amazing.
I didn't notice the smells.
Yeah, you've got to redo it again. There's 2 different times I can recall where there's some smells to take in. 3? 3.
The first is the snow smell they use.
Oh,
and all snows. I mean, the smells are great. Then in the kitchen with the gingerbread.
Yep.
And then the final,
like the Lair,
the final scenes, where you have all of the snow globes.
I'm just gonna tell you right now,
Krampus's
I
snow
would have
globes.
preferred a little person in a gingerbread outfit like they did for the HR Puff and Guts years ago, as
and
opposed to whatever having the, as opposed to just the stagnant, non-moving gingerbread man on the counter.
See, I enjoyed that scene.
I like the scene. I don't know.
So you're looking for the scares. You're looking for those.
Even the scare. Yeah, I guess that's what I'm looking for.
I don't think there was a way to do the gingerbread men justice. Like in the movie, they are. While I enjoy the gingerbread scene in the movie, it's one of the worst uses of CGI in that movie in general. Yeah. So whenever you already have bad CGI in the movie, how are you supposed to translate it in a real house environment? without it just being
I guess that's true.
too awful. They tried to incorporate some of the better scary parts of the movie too. They had the teddy bear. Mm-hmm. It was puppeted too.
I don't remember the teddy bear part.
Yeah,
I don't think I saw him.
I think that was whether or not the puppeteer was in the house currently. So if it was a cast change, maybe they didn't take over and they left that scene dark. But that was also in the attic. This is kind of one of those houses that brings all of the elements together. It's not going to scare you. It's just a really pretty aesthetic house. Mm-hmm. So that's our full rundown. I like that we got a little heated at the end there.
We did.
It's just because I have to pee really bad.
Oh, good.
Oh, we're not done. We've got lists.
No, we gotta wrap it up with that. Listen, okay, so first off, this is like the first time in a while we've done a pre-recorded show. You could have said at any point in time, hard cut, stop. Can I go pee?
I wouldn't
and
have
you
done
never
that.
did.
Because it should be a one take, so it should be in the moment.
That's us.
I don't want
We're
to make
the-
anybody's life more difficult.
We're the one take wonders. So Oliver, hit me with it. Your list.
Okay, so starting from, I'll do it in descending order. So starting with my least favorite, least impressive to my most impressive.
Mm-hmm.
So coming in at the very bottom, we've got Lunatic's Playground. Not very good at all. Wasn't my favorite. Followed by The Walking Dead, then The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Tomb of the Ancients, then The Exorcist.
You disliked the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and The Walking Dead more than Tomb of the Ancients.
Yes. Tomb of the Ancients made me jump at points, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre, as good as it looked, it didn't have the same jumps as Tomb of the Ancients to me.
Surprised.
Well, it's my list.
I know. I'm just surprised.
Where was I? Don't you need to pee? I'll start from the top.
Exorcist?
Oh, there we go. Okay, so yeah, I was at Exorcist. So we're about midway now. So Exorcist lands in the middle, followed by, this is the top four: Halloween, Krampus, American Horror Story, and number one, Ghost Town.
Rhino?
Starting at the bottom, Lunatic's Playground. The 3D houses never click with me. Tomb of the Ancients is above that. I don't like when there's not a story that I can grasp very well. And then Ghost Town, and then no, you know what? I'm gonna change that. Lunatic's Playground, Tomb of the Ancients, The Walking Dead, Krampus, Ghost Town, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Halloween. And then, I should say Halloween, American Horror Story, and The Exorcist are all sitting right there at the top for me. And I think if you're a big American Horror Story fan, you will not be disappointed by that house.
How can you put Ghost Town so far down on your list?
It's not okay. So the thing is in this list that I'm looking at right now, there are literally only two houses in the whole thing that I don't like, and that's it. Tomb of the Ancients, like if I never did it again, I'd be okay. Lunatic's Playground, I'd be okay. The rest of them, I definitely want to go through every one of those again more than once. So I should have prefaced that in the beginning as saying that it was difficult to make this list because I don't think less of those houses.
I'll even argue a step further than that. There are no bad houses, especially if you don't do this all the time like we do. If you only come once every couple of years, don't skip any house if you have the ability to. Even something like Lunatic's Playground. Because not everywhere does this. You can't get this kind of experience just anywhere. They don't do it in probably Rhode Island. That's a good place.
In Rhode Island.
Rhode Island? Who goes to Rhode Island? Who lives in Rhode Island? Call and let us know. But my list is Lunatic's Playground, 9. Number 8, Walking Dead. Number 7, Tomb of the Ancients. Number 6, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Number 5, American Horror Story. Number 4, The Exorcist. Number 3, Halloween. Number 2, Krampus. And number 1, Ghost Town. I don't know if Oliver and I just had the perfect walkthrough on it, but after that one, it just...
I loved it.
The number one thing you should take
me.
away from these lists and this discussion, though, is that I think any house, you could argue, deserves to be walked through more than once because it's all about timing. Is that it just depends. Like, you could have just been off, and so if it even remotely, you're kind of like, oh, I kind of enjoyed the setting, go through again, and then you'll have a whole new experience and see the story in a different way, too. Because sometimes there's an A and B story. And you're on the A timing, and you missed the B story.
As you said, these lists continue to change and adapt. while this list that I have now was different from the list that I had preview night, which was different from the video list that you and I made on media night, which was different than the list that I had on Saturday night when I was there as well. It's going to continue. Whenever I go on Thursday night, it's going to be different yet again. And that's the beauty of this event. You notice something different every time. I really feel bad for people who don't live in Orlando during this time of year, because this is Christmas. If you're into the architecture, the design, the spookiness, all of that, this is just it's the most wonderful time of the year. It really is, because we never get Christmas. We don't get Christmas down here. This
is Florida's Christmas.
We have hot, and then we have
the pits
hotter
of hell.
than hot. Yeah, you said it, not me. So that is going to do
Satan's
it.
bowels.
That is going to do it for this episode. We hope you got some good information from our list of what we thought about all of the houses. Hope it helps with your planning when you come in. The number one takeaway, as I just said before, try to do everything. Make your own opinions. Share them with us, please. If you've been to the event, let us know below in the comments. Send us an email, uopodcast@disunplug.com. Just let us know what you think about the event. Tell us we're wrong. We really enjoy that. We usually throw a hissy fit, this, that, and the other. And, of course, you can also let us know on all of our social media pages. If you can't find that, I don't know what to tell you. You can find it at disunplug.com, though, home of the show notes. And so much more, including all of our other shows on the Dis Unplugged podcast network. And finally, make sure you are leaving us those, you're subscribed to everything. You're leaving us that comments, feedback, whether it's on iTunes, YouTube, anywhere. We love reading it. Sometimes we respond. Rhino's pretty good about that. I'm mediocre. Oliver, well, never really.
Hey,
Never.
occasionally I
Never.
respond. It depends.
But thank you guys. This was wonderful. Thank you to everyone out there for watching and listening to this. We really appreciate it. And we will see you next week. Cue the music for the next episode of the Dis Unplugged Universal Edition. Until then, resolutions are universal.